There's an increase in the number of people cutting off their parents, but there's one thing I've noticed about this trend. Has anybody else noticed that when an adult child chooses not to have a relationship with a parent, it's always, but it's your mom and dad. You only get one mom and dad. Why are you doing that? And it's never, wow, what could a parent have done to cause their child to make this decision, but feel like it was the right one? It's
if your kids no longer want to speak to you when they become adults, that's 100% your fault as the parent. What most parents don't seem to understand is that the parent-child relationship is not the same as the...
Okay, and another thing,
Today we're talking about why some people are going no contact with their parents. Welcome, my name is Nick. Today we're watching another YouTuber that I highly recommend you subscribe to. His name's Jack Morgan. He covers a lot of different topics. And today he's put together all sorts of these TikTok or YouTuber experiences about why they've gone no contact with their parents. Recently I've had one of my parents that I've went no contact with keep trying to reach out, or they're trying to post these public videos explaining like, I try to do the best for my kids and I'm so heartbroken that he won't speak to me. I want to just give more insight of why that might be. And towards the end of the video, I'll probably give one grand monologue of all the steps that led to that decision for me. And now I've had to protect myself and my peace going forward in life. But let's start out with a few of these other people's experiences of why they went no contact with their parent.
going no contact is not a trend. It's not an aesthetic and it's not a personality trait. It is quite literally a last resort.
But you only have one mother in this life. Yeah, well, my mother only had one me. I think a lot of people didn't want kids. I honestly believe that.
That's a good point.
I think a lot of people did not want kids. I hate to say this, but they didn't want you.
Yeah, or a lot of parents chose to have kids so they could have more child laborers do all their chores for them. Clean the house, scoop the walks. I lived on a farm, so I was constantly taking care of their animals that they got a sold and profit from. But, you know, their excuse was like, well, I provide a roof over your head and food on the table. And I don't mind. Like, there's some situations where I understand kids need some responsibility. But I never really got an allowance, right? I didn't get paid for a lot of the work that I did. I built barns. I re-roofed barns. I've built shelters for their animals and livestock. I know I've taken care of their sheep, their pigs, their cattle. And I didn't see hardly shit from doing that, right? It was expected of me.
Why do we hold family to different standards than friends? If you wouldn't put up with something from a friend, why would you from family? I would argue that it's a lot easier to fuck over someone close to you.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Like,
I think some people think they can do family more dirty because they have like this forgiveness pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I don't think it's on a conscious level. I think it's like, for instance, when I was 15, 16, 17, I thought it was smart to just take $20 out of my mother's purse every Friday night.
See, like I've had cousins that, you know, they grew up with parents that just gave them money whenever they wanted. Like, Mom, can I have $20 to go to the movies with my friends? Sure, honey. Here you go. Well, I'm going to need more for food. Oh, here's another 20. Make sure you eat and you can pay for your friend's meal too. They didn't even have to steal from their parents, right? Like they were just given anything they asked for all the time. And yet, sometimes they still stole money from the purse. And they didn't have to. They could just ask for it. I think some of that also might have to do with like the guilt. Like, oh, she'll just give it to me anyway. And that way I don't even have to ask or feel bad for asking. Or she won't even know that it's gone. She'll just think that she spent it. I think my cousins maybe felt like that once in a while. But either way, I mean, I would have got my ass kicked if I stole anything. Like that was a cardinal sin. So I never even attempted to do such things. I could ask for gas money once in a while, but did I really get it? No. No, I had to work on the farm and provide them value with my labor.
She didn't need it. But here's the fucked up part. I could have just asked.
Mm-hmm. And she would have probably gave it to you.
No, she would have.
Yeah.
I could have just asked. But I think there's this thing of, they don't understand. I don't have to explain it to them. But I didn't deal with shitty parents. Like I ended up confessing to her years later. and I had a little bit of money and I paid her back. I was like, here's $500. That's probably what I stole from me. She knows none of us. She's just like, you're right.
I think our generation is going no contact because there's no reason to deal with our parents' nonsense anymore. My grandparents probably had the same issues. The difference is that they gave financial leverage to my parents. They gave a lot financially that it was kind of worth dealing with them. My parents do not give me nearly the same amount of financial leverage that they were given, and they were living in booms and whatnot. So like right now, having been in a recession, most people are in debt, can't buy their homes, in student loans.
Okay, so what I'm gathering.
This woman hit the nail on the head with this one. That's exactly what happened with my family. My mom, my aunt, they had not the best upbringing either. They were probably emotionally abused by their father at times, but they still dealt with them because he gave them a boatload of money. My mother got 4 different houses during her lifetime while my grandpa was alive. 4 houses. Not one, not even a second one. 4 total. I mean, okay, the first one was a trailer house. Still, a house that she owned. My dad was making payments to my grandpa to pay it off, but at the end, when they divorced, she just kept the house and sold it and kept it, right, to go to the next one. And then when she was separating from my stepdad and we moved into town, my grandpa bought her another house worth about $50,000 back when houses were kind of affordable, right? After that house, when she got back with my stepfather, they wanted to move onto a farm. So they bought some piece of shit that was still like $80,000, which again, back when things were affordable, but it was falling apart. It needed so much renovation. The barns were falling apart. I spent all my high school years helping them fix it up and do like construction work for them and put new roofs on the barns and rebuilt them an entirely new bathroom and everything. Like they had such a further ahead starting point, or like got bailed out after every bad decision they've made through relationships or whatnot. It doesn't even compare to today. Like the 4th house she ended up getting, which I'll get to later in the video when I break down like everything why I decided to go no contact, but like it was during the last few years of my grandpa's life, and he was starting to hand out some of his inheritances, right? So he bought my one cousin like $100,000 house. He bought the other one like a $20,000, $30,000 car. He gave away his Corvette to one of them. My youngest brother probably has received over $200,000 to $250,000 in assets to go towards farm equipment, tractors, 4-wheelers, cattle, land. He bought him like his own set of land that has a barn on it that he could build a house on and stuff. Like he's probably gotten the most out of even my cousins. But this was during COVID, right? And I lost my job. Everybody's losing job during that, but I was also getting severely sick. I had an autoimmune disease that was developing that, basically I went bankrupt going to doctors trying to get this diagnosed and figured out. So at that time, she was also attempting to leave my stepfather for the second time. They've been in a bad relationship for many, many, many years. And she signed this contract and almost was required to buy this condemned house in Minden that it was on the county books that this house was condemned because it had a hole in the roof. The wall had a hole in it, and they just kind of put like a patch siding on it, but it had like structural damages done because of the tree roots, or it was near a railroad track. It was just a piece of shit, okay? And at that time, I was very compassionate, very concerned for her mental health, and I was supportive of her leaving an abusive relationship because they just were not good for each other. And I remember going to my grandpa and asking him, like, I know you were about to give me like a down payment or whatever to go towards a house, but I'm like sick, I'm out of a job, I'm not really in the space or the place right now to make that type of decision, but we both need a home to live in. So I found a place that's about an hour away where she could still go to work because she was working at the time. And it was about an hour away from my other family. So it was still like decently located. And it was relatively cheap, a 2-bedroom place. And originally he was going to put it in my name. Since he already gave my one cousin her $100,000 house, this place was only 50 again, or 55, I think. During that time, stupid mistake on my behalf, I figured, hell, since I'm helping her, she could help me. I wanted my name to remain off of the title for now because I was, during my sickness and all these COVID years, I was preparing to get a real estate license out of state. I really didn't want to live in the state long term, but I figured this is good enough for now and it would last me the few years that I needed it. It'd give her some time to figure out where she wanted to live or save up next. But long story short, she ultimately just screwed me over and took the house and sold it for a profit. And she moved again where she wanted, but I was left with nothing. Nothing. That one burned me. That was one of the last straws I had to deal with. But anyway, that was her 4th house. I'll get into that story again later because there's a lot more to it.
Gathering from this is if your parents are shitty, it's all right if you're getting paid for it. That's kind of like a job, though. Most people show up to work to places they hate for money.
You'll deal with it.
It's that's kind of what I'm getting with this.
Yeah, same thing with my aunt too. Like there was one time she got like a $60,000 gift from my grandpa to go toward paying off their house. But the thing is, they didn't really need it. Who she married ended up kudos to him or whatever. Like he ended up being a vice president to a furniture company. He was making 6 digits, no problem. His kids always went without they got to join the fancy AAU basketball team so they could get scouted by scouts for college. They got to start a band and travel all across the state and do all these fun gigs and stuff. So they just had plenty of money throughout their whole lives. They were never told no on anything they wanted to try to pursue. So their family was very well off. They didn't really even need my grandpa's help, but are you going to turn down free money?
Don't have money. Later. Losers. Get some money, mom and dad. Suckers. You know what I mean? Parents used to give their kids money for a down payment on their first home. I think that's like at an all-time high. Actually, look that up in 2024. 25%. I think that's at an all-time high. My parents went on a cruise while I was in the hospital being born when I was in college. You know what's funny? Is I paid my dad's rent at the age of 19. Me at times, or we'd all live together. And my dad's just there living with us. And they're like, I don't know how you do it. But they had to. They couldn't go live on their own. So it's like, well, you're going to live with me. You got to live with my dad too. Even if he is a piece of shit. Most people don't give a shit. If these people don't care about their own parents, don't expect them to care about yours. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
I've never met anybody who cut their parents off for just making a few mistakes. I have met people who spent their whole lives abandoning themselves to try and love their parents. People who disconnect from their own needs and boundaries and truth in order to keep the peace and avoid conflict with these grown adults who are supposed to be supportive mentors. I have met people who just want to talk about the fact that their childhood had neglectful, abusive...
Supportive mentors. I love that, dude. You know how they say respect your elders? I always looked at
The messed up part is some of these parents on the outside looking in, they seem supportive. They'll show up to your basketball game and cheer and all that stuff. But if you were to go to the home of these kids, you can see how neglected they truly are, how filthy their house and their environment truly were, how much violence and yelling and screaming and physical abuse that also went on behind closed doors. That's the disgusting part, or it's been very difficult for me to speak out against in general because my mother was very good at gaslighting people, very good liar. She got it from my grandma, who was also very good at lying, more so white lies than malicious lying. But my mom was sometimes a malicious liar. She even put my dad in jail one time with false allegations of abuse. Some women will do or say whatever they need to be the victim and to get the support from the law or or the other men that stand up for them. It's real disgusting how much they bend the truth. And like just even recently, like I know she's still like trying to put out videos about, I'm so heartbroken, my son won't talk to me, but I'm so happy for him, and blah blah blah. It's like there's a reason. There's a reason I went no contact, and you damn well know what that reason is. There's lots of reasons. This just wasn't a decision made overnight. This was the final straw to a whole haystack of problems growing up. And the real like nitty gritty of it is like she just won't take any accountability. She will never admit that what she did was wrong because she's convinced herself in her mind to relieve herself of guilt that she tried to do the best that she could for her kids. And no, you did the best you could for yourself. That's why you ended up with 4 houses and multiple vehicles and a boatload of cash to go take all these extravagant vacations on and buy all these poodles. And, you know, I could go on and on and on and on about all the privileges you've had in your life that you just squandered and pissed down your leg. And like that other woman said, like my generation and those following, like we don't have anything to start out with.
Older people, like you would expect them to be wise, right? Very understanding. But something I've noticed is a lot of older people now, it's almost the opposite. You know, like you're supposed to be understanding, teach me something. And I think there's a lot more combativeness. It's almost like a 55-year-old is acting like how a 23-year-old would. And then the 30-year-old is more mature. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think we're in a weird time. I'm not saying everybody older isn't wise or.
Yeah, have you, anyone else out there feel like you've had to parent your parents? Even when I was in college, I remember like trying to figure out banking stuff or trying to fill out forms to attend college. And you think I got any help with that? I had to figure that shit out on my own. And I'm sure many of you have had to do the same thing as well. But I mean, the one particular instant I always will remember is I was trying to move into my new apartment so I could go to school the next day. It was in the new town, hours away. So I was trying to get my mom to help me with the truck and a trailer that we had on the farm to help me move a few things. And what ended up happening was she went out to a bar the night before, and allegedly she got so drunk she started dancing on top of the bars even, making a fool of herself. But long story short, you know, she was so hungover the next day, she slept through all of her alarms. We were late. I just felt at that moment so disappointed that I realized I can never truly rely on my parents. And I got to step back because I don't want to throw my dad into that as well, because he's been there for me during unexpected times where I have needed help. But there's been so many instances where I felt completely neglected or abandoned in some sense that I realized, like, if I want this done, I have to figure it out on my own. I can't rely on other people, which sucks. It sucks to feel that way for most of your life growing up, or like you don't have family that's going to be there for you when push comes to shove.
Mature. I'm not saying that, but that's something I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten to fucking not arguments, but almost like I'm talking to a 70-year. Literally, I was talking to a 70-year-old. You mean to tell me you're going to tell me go do a job that you don't like and it just pays decent? This is what you're telling me. I wouldn't say that to their face, but that's like going on in my head is what I'm trying to say. Calling no contact kids at our hospice nursing home. Don't even show up for your dead dad. Goes good.
Least favorite part of my job. A patient is asking me to call his son, who he's not spoken to in 10 years, and tell him to come visit him before he dies. Okay. So he said no, he's not going to come. I said that I respect that decision. Asked if he wants me to notify him whenever his dad does die, and he said yes. I have to go in here now and tell.
He goes, yeah, give me a call. Let me know when that piece of shit's gone.
Ooh.
That is rough, but you know, everyone's circumstance is different. But I will say, like, I'm sure a lot of people nearing death feel a lot of regret and remorse, and they're trying to alleviate their own guilt before they check out, right? And it's kind of selfish still. It's like you put your children through years and years of abuse or neglect or what have you. And now, because you're feeling guilty that you want to make up before you, I don't know. Some people say never later. How's the freaking phrase go? Better late than never. Yeah, for you. But the kids that are left, like, they're still processing all that trauma and abandonment. It's like, you expect them to forgive you after all those years? I don't know. It's a rough one, but you let me know what you think in the comments.
That's rough, dude. That's kind of rough, man.
Now, I don't understand why some parents act so surprised when their kids go no contact, knowing damn well you treated that kid like a servant more than you treated them like a child.
I don't think they knew.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing parents out there, but then there's a select group of parents that traumatize their kids, that never allowed their kids to speak, never created a safe space. And to be honest, you're one of the reasons why your child deals with so many different issues like anxiety, because you stressed that kid out. That kid never was allowed to be a kid because you forced them to grow up fast. Now, a lot of parents are going to say, I was young, I tried my best, I did everything I could. That still doesn't mean that you ever had the conversation where you apologize for all the wrongs that you did to your child.
The worst part is
that guy nailed everything completely. Like, a lot of these issues do stem back from early childhood. That's why so many people do have anxiety or have trouble speaking at times. We never really had the space or the safe place to process these things. And you don't even learn that it's wrong till way later in life. That, like, yeah, you shouldn't have been treated that way. You shouldn't have been screamed at as a young kid. Or, like, for instance, like I spoke about the chores on the farm growing up earlier. It's like, I know it's one thing to help out around the house. I support most of that. Some kids need responsibility. But when you leave them like an entire 2-page paper of chores they have to get done before the time that you get home, otherwise your ass is going to get beat. That's like threatening. That builds a lot of anxiety. That puts a lot of pressure on a young kid that should just be being a kid. Playing army man in the sand or whatever the hell. Like, not breaking ice and getting all the, I don't know how many heads of sheep and pigs and cattle we all had at one time, but Jesus, it took all freaking day sometimes. And sometimes I still had sports practice at the end of the day, or other things I had to get done, or homework, right? Like, I don't think parents should be having kids just for the sole sake of having a freaking servant around the house. And that's not only my experience. I've had other friends I went to school with that had a similar situation. So for me, it's like, oh, I guess it's normal for some of us. And then we all kind of envied the other classmates that had loving parents that let them do whatever the hell they wanted. Even if I try to, like, stand up for myself or try to have a conversation of why this is unfair or try to negotiate what I could and couldn't do, like, you get my ass kicked. There was no negotiation or discussion. It was, you do this or your ass is getting red. It's getting red with blood. So I learned from a really early age just to shut the hell up and to kind of keep to myself. I mean, that's why I had trouble expressing myself for so many years. I was so quiet, and especially until I joined extracurriculars at school like speech and theater, and had some more practice kind of designing a different character. That's what I had to do. I couldn't really be myself. I wasn't allowed. I'd be punished for it. So the only expression I was really allowed at that time was to create these characters through school, and that's what I got praised for at certain times, or to be an athlete. Like, that's why I got so deep into the sports curriculum or sports world, because it took me away from home, a place I didn't want to be because it was so filthy, dirty, abusive. Everyone's yelling at each other and fighting each other all the time. I wasn't fully allowed to be a kid during those developing years, and I didn't realize the impact it had on me until I finally grew up and have a safe space, or have my own space, right, that I could have more control over. Because that's really what it was. It's like, I did my best during my high school years because we had a 2-story house. Their rooms were both mostly on the bottom. I kept mine on top because I could just clean my room and clean that extra room that I had, like a little living room, a tiny one, that I kept clean. I kept hospitable for when my friends did come over, and that they felt comfortable sleeping on the couch upstairs. But shit, downstairs we had not even dog shit, probably like hog shit from the pigs outside and all that. They never took off their boots, or they walked through all this mud and track it in on the carpet. And it's like no one ever vacuumed. We just plopped our freaking laundry all over the dining room table or the floor. We couldn't even eat on our tables. The kitchen sink was full of filth. It was hillbilly. I lived in a hillbilly house. And if you don't think that has some psychological, traumatic implications and repercussions to how I developed and how I process things, then yeah, some parents just should never be parents, period. They should have just stuck with the dogs.
Even if they did know, they don't care.
Yeah.
Or they don't know. My dad had zero accountability. He got caught stealing from the gas station on camera. Wasn't me. Literally. No, I didn't do it. He would never admit it. Ever.
And that's the other huge issue too, is a lot of these parents just have zero accountability for their actions. They will still say, I did my best to keep a roof over your head and food on the table, like the bare minimum of survival. And they'll never own up to, like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have had your stepdad beat you with a horsewhip, or I probably shouldn't have had you stand in the corner on your tiptoes for half an hour. There were some weird ass punishments I had to go through. And even my aunt and my grandma later were just like apologizing to me, saying, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that. I should have stepped in. I knew it was wrong. Blah, blah, blah. But shit, it's already done. It's over with. Like, you were too busy concerned about your own freaking kids. Like, you knew it was wrong and you still did nothing. You're an accomplice at that point.
Your millennial child going no contact with you isn't because they're ungrateful you fed and watered them for 18 years. It's because they told you 100 times what hurt them, and instead of listening, you played victim, became emotionally abusive, and then they had to set a boundary to protect themselves the way you wouldn't protect them.
Okay, she's going.
Yeah, so what's ironic too is both my mom and my aunt at one point was telling me that I have to go get therapy. Because I was being so angry about the filth I was living in, or the behaviors that, while I was allowing my mom to live with me in the house that was given to us by my grandfather, this was during COVID, she was dating all sorts of just low-life creeps and trying to bring them back to the house. And they're like coughing and, probably getting us all freaking sicker. One guy even it was like at 11 o'clock brunch, right? And he asked her to go pick up some Mike's Hard Lemonade from a Casey's gas station. And he ended up puking all over in her car. That's the type of men she was dealing with and trying to bring into my environment, right? Then there's this other guy from another state that didn't even have a car. I don't even know if he was legally allowed to be in this country, which that's not even the part that I care about. But he was trying to get her to spend gas money so he could come down and visit, or she could come up there and visit. Just a big freaking waste. Low lives is what I would call it. Trailer trash behavior. But it was not only that, it was just the environment she kept. Even during that time, I was super sick. I have so many spine problems. I had trouble standing on my feet for more than like 20 minutes at a time. And to even just eat a healthy meal, I had to spend like a half hour cleaning dishes out of the sink that she would dirty. Again, it was just the environment I grew up in. It was not a healthy one. It took so much effort to feel comfortable. in my own house because she overpacked it with the animals and dogs and that shit on the carpet or tracked in mud, and she'd never vacuum. She was a hoarder that went to so many garage sales or thrift stores or whatever and just packed it wall to wall with bullshit. And I had my little tiny space that I kept because it was mine, even though that whole place should have been mine at that time. I invited her in, which was my mistake looking back. She should have just lived in the condemned house. But I had a heart, and I cared about my mom at that time. So it sucks when you feel regret doing something you felt was the right thing because you want to help people. But then once those people get the help, that they throw you under the bus and really royally screw you over. Like, I'll probably never financially recover. I mean, I'm trying to do good investments and pinch my pennies like I've been doing my entire freaking life. Living without, sacrificing. I never got handed 5 or 4 houses, but probably like 5 vehicles that she's gotten over the years and boatloads of cash. I don't know. I could just keep bringing that shit up all day. But yeah, I just don't have the same starting point in life that she did.
What most parents, especially on this app, don't understand is that it is very hard for a child to grow up and want to get away from their parents, like completely disconnect from them. It takes something that's happened for years, trauma, abuse, neglect, to the point where the child will grow up and realize that there is nothing I can do to connect with my family or parents. I need to get away from it. And these are the same kids that have part-time jobs. They go to school.
I think I've heard enough. I think he nailed it. I don't think people want to do that. I don't think people don't want parents. Family.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like something you're 15 and you're like, I don't want love and support.
No, as kids, of course, we all want someone that is there to protect us, to support us, to give us a good guidance, a good head start in life. Not to grow up in filth, not to grow up with unhealthy food, not to grow up with screaming and yelling and physical abuse, not to grow up with being a freaking child laborer servant, doing the chores, cleaning up after everybody else. It's one thing to make your kid clean his own room. It's another thing to make your kid clean your whole house and do the farm work. I don't think anybody just doesn't want parents. But if their parents are like that, you do realize you're better off alone. It's easier. It still sucks. It still hurts to feel alone. But it feels worse to be with some people that make you feel like that. Like, going back to the early childhood stuff, I felt I didn't even have value. I couldn't even express myself. But I didn't have value unless I was constantly serving other people. My value inherently came from doing chores for other people, entertaining other people. I didn't have value because I was just a human, right? And that still sticks with me today. I still feel like, well, if I want people to like me, I definitely have to do something above and beyond to earn their respect, to earn their value. It's like we should just be giving each other human decency. Give strangers respect. If they disrespect you after that, then sure, move on. Like, you don't have to continue putting up with their disrespect, but just to feel like someone has to earn it for you, I don't know. These are lasting experiences that you don't really have time to process when you're growing up. And the only way you do deal with it or cope with it is by keeping yourself distracted. Like I mentioned earlier, I kept busy with school. I kept good grades despite all this stuff. But on top of that, I was doing sports constantly just so I wouldn't have to be at home. I'd stay late. I'd be like the last one to leave basketball practice every day because I'd rather shoot free throws than get yelled at home or have to do fucking chores for other people's animals that they were profiting from. Why would I want to do that? Anyway, I think this video is towards the end. I'll just give like a monologue of like step by step of what led to my personal decision of cutting off one of my parents. But I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm going to link that video next because that's going to take a few minutes to get through some things. But this is kind of a good introductory of why some people have decided to cut contact with their parents. I think not a lot of us have had the emotional ability to articulate what we've been through or gone through and to defend ourselves through all the gaslighting and all the, I love my kids, I've supported them all my life and I've done all I could for them. No, you haven't. You've done all you could for yourself. And you take no accountability. And that is exactly why a lot of us go no contact, because there's no accountability. There's no true apology. There's no trying to, I don't know, reprimand it, like make things right. Have you even tried to make things right? No, because I don't think they really believe what right is, because I still feel like they're delusional. They're never the villain. They just won't take accountability. They don't think they've done anything wrong. So I'll leave it there. You can leave your comments below. If you have experiences of cutting off family, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe I'll read some of those in the next video. And go watch the next one. I'll break down what led up to my decision of why I went no contact.